Welcome to Powerful Women Rising, a podcast for female entrepreneurs ready to do business their way. Grab your coffee and join host Melissa Snow, business relationship strategist and founder of the Powerful Women Rising community, as she interviews industry experts and shares insights on strategy, marketing, mindset, and more. Here, you'll find the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to feel empowered, take bold action in your business, and keep rising.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerful Women Rising podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. It feels like it's been a long time since I talked to you all. It feels like it's been a long time since I recorded a new interview or a new episode or anything. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Part of it is just because life be lifing. And also, I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes in Powerful Women Rising, restructuring some of the offers, changing some things around in the community. I'm trying to make it more aligned for everyone so that there is something for you if you are at the beginning of your business and you're just getting started and you really need to get some quick wins and some clients and some money right now. Work on your confidence, make some amazing connections, and then also different things to offer if you are in like the first 3 to 5 years of your business, if you're getting some traction, if you're making sales, but it's not consistent, or if you have been in business for a little while and you are making consistent sales, but you are ready for things to be easier and faster and simpler. And I hate the word up level, but I'm going to use it anyway. If you are ready to level the level up. So anyway, we've been doing a lot of work here, me and my amazing support system, my team, and building out some really great things that I'm excited to share with you in the new year. In the meantime, you have one more opportunity to join us at one of our virtual speed networking events. The next one is coming up on December 2nd, 2025, if you are listening to this live. And it starts at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. This is the last one of the year. So sad. We just had our November event a couple days ago. It was amazing. We had over 60 women from all over the world, entrepreneurs, online businesses, B2B, B2C, people brand new in business, people who'd been in business for 30 years. And it's just so fun to see everybody come together and share ideas and opportunities and referrals and advice. And always really fun to see the connections that get sparked at those events and what comes from them. So if you are not already registered, would love to see you at next month's event. And let's dive into today's episode. So this is a really fun interview that I did with Tam Smith. She is a sales growth strategist, which basically means she helps you figure out who your right fit clients are, find those people, and connect with them in a way that leads to sales. As the founder of Studio 349, she helps creative agencies and service-based businesses create scalable, sustainable sales systems. With over 15 years of sales leadership experience, Tam specializes in turning relationship-based strategies into predictable growth without hard sell tactics. So you can see, obviously, why I fell in love with her. She is also the host of the Sales as Service podcast, where she shares practical sales and marketing insights for entrepreneurs. I am thrilled to just interview with you because I love the conversation that we had about sales versus marketing, how they're similar, how they relate to each other, and the mistakes that most of us are making when it comes to sales and marketing. What I really love about Tam is not only is she aligned with the Powerful Women Rising ideals of relationships and growing your business through genuine connection and not being a salesy weirdo, but I really love how she came on this podcast and shared some simple tips and skills and strategies that you can start using right away, that you can actually put into practice all by yourself today, that are going to help you shift the relationship between marketing and sales in your business. And I have no doubt that if you start to implement some of these things, you're going to see a shift in your business overall. So I would love to hear from you how it goes. I know Tam would too. Her contact info in the show notes. So if you implement any of the things that you hear about in this episode, we would love to hear from you. All right, friends, without further ado, here is my interview with Tam Smith. Hello, Tam. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so excited for our chat today about sales and marketing and all of the things in between. Before we dive in, tell everybody just a little bit about you and about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Tam Smith. I am a sales growth strategist and the founder of Studio 349 Sales Marketing. And I help female founders, female agency owners, service-based founders find, connect with, and convert right fit clients through what I like to call scalable, sustainable sales systems.
Awesome. And how long have you been doing this work?
I have been doing sales and business development I feel like my whole career, 15 plus years. My entrepreneurial experience started, I'm the product of COVID. I would love to believe that it did not take what at that time was a family health crisis independent of COVID, a global pandemic for me to start a business, but that's how it happened. I actually started the business as a virtual assistant, needed something that wasn't location specific. And in my corporate career, my business card has said everything from administrative assistant all the way up to director of residential sales when I exited at the end of 2019. So started the business as a virtual assistant. The climate we were in during COVID, businesses that either didn't have or had not been paying attention to their online presence were, freaking out. What are we going to do? And with my background largely in, sales, marketing, and business development, that's much of the work I was getting. So 2022, I rebrand. Well, I should say I did a formal launch and upgraded from something beyond the DIY website I did over a weekend when I launched the business, and launched to focus just exclusively on digital marketing. And about a year ago, I told transparency, I was on the fast track to burnout. I had said yes to everything. And from the outside in, it probably, looked, Tam's, running a, successful business. From the inside, it felt like I was doing a really poor job at a lot of stuff. And I had started working with a business coach, which I highly recommend to anyone listening because it's really hard to read the label from inside the bottle. And in our early engagement working together, she was the one that actually said, unless you're really committed to trying to build out this marketing agency, it sounds like you really want to be doing something in sales and business development. And I started laughing and I said, well, I can find the business if I could just free myself up to find the business. And she was the one that said, well, Tam, that's a business. So it really, it's that thing that, we tend to dismiss the thing that comes, I guess, with some ease and flow. I'm still, I guess, kind of working myself out of the idea that success equals suffering, and that it has to be hard to have value. So, a year in, I'm now focused exclusively on the sales and business. I like creating opportunity, if you will, and helping other people do that too.
Yeah. That's awesome. This is such a timely conversation. I just came from the mastermind call in the Powerful Women Rising community. And one of the things we were talking about, we were laughing because half the time our members will show up with something that they want help with. And about 5 to 10 minutes into it, they're like, okay, never mind. I'm not even doing that anymore. They'll come like, I needed LinkedIn strategy. And we start talking about it. And 5 minutes in, they're like, okay, actually, I don't know why I thought I needed to be on LinkedIn. Never mind. We were just talking to somebody who she had celebrated at the beginning that she'd created a custom GPT to help people with their SOPs. And it was really cool and blah, blah, blah. And so what she wanted help with in the mastermind was, I have these 3 webinar ideas to do this webinar as a lead magnet. And which of these 3 do you think is the best lead magnet? And blah, blah, blah. And finally, somebody was like, why aren't you just using your custom GPT as a lead magnet? And she was like, that's a great question. Like, why do we overcomplicate so much? It's crazy. Okay. So one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the podcast, I knew that you and I were very aligned with a lot of things. Yeah. And the way that you talk about marketing is you talk about building the room, or you talk about sales as like starting the conversation. And I just love that so much because that's one of the things that I say to the women in the Powerful Women Rising community a lot too. When they're like, I'm just bad at sales. I'm like, let's talk about every moment in your life that you actually are really good at sales, right? Like when your husband comes home and you guys are planning on having leftovers for dinner, but you really, really want Chinese. Like that's sales, right? But really all it is you having a conversation with him, and it doesn't have to be manipulative. It doesn't have to be like, I've already figured out what his objections are going to be to ordering Chinese and I'm ready to overcome his objections. Like, it's not all of this stuff. It's just a conversation. So talk to us a little bit about the relationship between marketing and sales, how they're different, and what you mean when you talk about building the room versus starting the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. The question I like to ask to your audience and to the people I work with, if your referrals dried up tomorrow, would you still have leads coming in 30 days from now? And referrals are great. Like, it's just it means you've got something proven. It's working. You're doing the thing. The challenge with that is it's not predictable. You're kind of stuck waiting, and it's definitely not scalable. So when we look at, sales and marketing, it's not an either or. I like to think of them when you're working in partnership. Marketing helps you get seen and remembered and understood. Sales turns that attention into opportunity. And, I'll just share my own story. I've definitely struggled early in my sales career with what I think, as female business owners, female founders, we've been the recipient of some bad sales conversations. We've been on the receiving end of, what the traditional association with sales, where it's that, pushy, manipulative, very transactional, very forced. And, we just don't relate to that. We don't want to be the recipient of that. And we definitely, don't want to be the one serving that up to someone that we want to work with. And so we don't do it. And early in my career, my mindset around the term sales was that's what I associated with. And I thought I was a quote unquote bad salesperson because I didn't relate to that. I was very focused on how can I serve and solve. And it took someone actually gave me the book, and I highly recommend it. It's a great read, which really, I felt validated. I felt seen, but it's Go Givers Sell More. And it was I don't know if you've read it or familiar with it, but great read. And I felt, like I said, I read it and I just wanted to like shout from the rooftops. Someone sees me. I feel heard, because at the end of the day, the mindset you approach it with, it changes everything. And it's like, how can I serve and solve? And if you've got, a service or a solution that can help someone achieve a goal or solve a problem, I'm of the opinion that, we have a responsibility to share that. And we're not trying to sell anything. We're simply trying to, educate that individual on making the best decision for them. So I heard it said that we're not salespeople. We're the chief, I think it's the decision maker helpers, if you will. We're just helping someone make a decision. But a very long answer to your question, I feel like we get stuck in the either or. Marketing, we're very, comfortable with posting, the being visible, and then it stops. And, the sales end of it, we're resistant because we don't want to be perceived as a gross, sleazy salesperson. But they're really intended to work together. And having worked on both sides of it, having worked deeply on the marketing side of it, I knew how valuable having that consistent visible presence is in the climate that we're in today. I knew how valuable that was, but it really wasn't until I got now within this last year, focused on the sales end of things, like how important it is to have both to work together. Marketing, you're left waiting, for that inbound inquiry, which if you do it well, you're going to get. But I'm a huge advocate of, being able to, while you're waiting, be able to proactively initiate and start those conversations so you can create your own opportunity. And it's a whole kind of environment, ecosystem, if you will, that it's really intended to support each other.
Yeah.
Again, very long answer to your question.
But it was a very long question, so it's okay. I love the distinction you're making, though, between marketing and sales, because I think we think of them, I hear people talk a lot about them together, right? I do marketing and sales. I do sales and marketing, marketing and sales. And there are people who, specialize in helping people with one or the other. But I think so often for like the average business owner, marketing and sales are the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I see a lot in the women that I work with is they're all over the marketing, right? They're posting on social media, they're emailing their list, they're providing value, they're going to networking events and connecting with people, and they're doing all of this stuff to increase their visibility, to bring people into their audience. They're doing great, but then they're like, why am I not making any money? Right. And I think it's because they're missing that distinction between marketing and sales. They think because they are marketing, the sales should be coming automatically. So for those people who are listening to this that are like, yes, that's 100% what I'm doing, how do you suggest they start bringing more sales in?
I wish I had the silver bullet. And the silver bullet is there's no silver bullet. It's just a practice. It is just a daily discipline and practice, and simply building that into your daily, weekly routine. Let me back up and say, I kind of think of it in 3 phases. A lot of the women that I work with, they're coming to me at kind of one of 2 inflection points. They've built a solid business based on referral, but one of 2 things has happened. They've had a large client has moved off, and they don't have anything in place to fill that, or they're at that stage where, hey, they're ready to grow and scale and move to that next level. And again, there's no process. So again, I wish there was something I could say that, you insert this in and it's going to be like, a double-digit increase overnight, but it really is just the daily micro actions that you take to move that needle. But I set that up to say a lot of us, when we've started our businesses, we've, and I think, to a certain degree, early stage, we've said yes to everything. And to be able to, proactively initiate and start a conversation, I'm not, I know everybody gets really nervous when they hear the idea of someone advocating they need to niche down or get focused. But for the purposes of initiating and starting conversation and being able to proactively initiate business growth, for that messaging, just think of, think of that one client or that one project that you did and I'm not saying this is all you're ever going to do for the rest of your business, but if that's all you did, who is that? What is that work? And get really, really focused on the profile of who that client is and the problem you're solving, that you can go start more of those same conversations. And then once you've done that, it really is just, there's so many tools, like pick where's the sandbox? Where are they playing? And then it really goes by like the way you advocate, business building with, it's just making connections and starting conversations and building relationship to create opportunity. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's just a daily micro action. So, once you've got that, profile of that, again, that one person that you want to start a conversation with, find out where are they playing and get in the room. And then just be able to say, like, I heard, this is not an original quote, but I'm going to steal it, that, sales really is like, half the world is waiting for the other half, or the half of the room is waiting for the other room to say hi. Just be the first to say hello in a way that feels natural and comfortable to you. So yeah, once you've kind of validated that audience or that client profile, you're able to work that into your messaging and the marketing things that you're using to support your business. And hopefully that will drive some more of those inbound conversations. But in the meantime, being able to on the daily just practically initiate those conversations. I practice what I call like a 3-2-2 method, if you will. And this is what I found when I talk about, sustainable practice. Wherever your chosen platform is, wherever your client is living and playing, or prospective client is living and playing, that could be, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever that platform is. It's like, where can you contribute to the conversation and drop 3 comments on your ideal client's content that they're posting and just engage in the conversation. And then 2 proactive outreach messages. 1 to someone new that you want to start a relationship with, and then someone else that's already in your network. That could be a past client, a referral partner, a potential collaborator that you're just staying visible, but proactively start, again, building that relationship and nurturing. And that's where mindset comes in too, because a lot of people, well, I'll even use, again, myself as an example. Early in my sales career, I can remember my first full commission sales job. And I was fortunate to be sitting between the 2 of the highest performing sales women in the company. And I was just, white knuckling. How am I going to make my forecast this month? And the one, Nancy GD, sitting next to me, shout out to Nancy GD. She said, Tam, you got to let go of the focus on the number, because when you get focused on the number, you push it further away. When you focus on the client in front of you and you're doing all the right things, plan to work the plan, and the numbers will come. So I think that, again, that mindset, you start those conversations, don't go into it with that trying to close a deal. Sure, it may end up being a client, or it could be a great referral partner, collaborator, or just like a really smart conversation that points you to the next right thing to do in your business to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, again, we try to overcomplicate things, right? And so we think if I'm going to make sales, if I'm going to turn my marketing into sales, then I need this big complicated funnel. I need, some sort of, we were just talking about tripwires on the mastermind, and everybody was like, where did that phrase even come from? I'm like, I don't know. Just like, when somebody gets your free thing and you're like, oh, if you loved my free thing, you could also add this thing for $7,
Right.
So I need a freebie, and then I need a tripwire, and then I need an email sequence to funnel those people through. And then after that, I need them to go here and do this. And I can't do that unless I have the sales page set up. And when I set up my sales page, I'm going to need somewhere for them to go to do this, this, and this. And we wait until we have all of those 50 million things, then we can start selling. Right. But actually, and this is one of the reasons I started this business, is to get people to realize, like, I feel like so often we're doing things backwards. We get the pictures taken, we build the website, we get the logo, we do all of the things, right? And then, because we think we need all those things to start selling. What you really need to start selling is to know who you're selling to, what their problem is, how you're going to solve their problem, and then start having conversations with people. That's it.
Everything you're describing, we spend way too much time setting the table. We just need to sit down and start eating.
Yes, yes. And once you have those conversations, right, once you're starting to do those things, that's when you're going to start bringing money in. And then you can use that money to put the frosting on the cake, right? Like, we want to get the frosting first and learn how to make, I have the weirdest metaphors, so we're just going to go with it. We want the frosting first, and we want to learn how to make the like icing flowers and all of the fancy icing things, right? And we do all those, and then we're like, well, shit, I don't have a cake to put this on. And we like to do that because that's the sexy part, right? Like, that's the part that everybody sees. That's like, oh, look at her. She's like a real businesswoman. She's got icing. She knows how to make flowers. She knows how to do all these things. And that makes our imposter syndrome feel good. It makes us feel good because now everybody else is looking at us and like, oh, she's legit. She knows how to make frosting flowers. But then we realize, like, those frosting flowers are not on a cake. We don't even have a cake. So we start backwards. We do the non-sexy part of baking a cake. And then at least we have something to live off of while we learn how to make frosting flowers.
Yep. And I will say,
metaphor, sort of.
I like that. I followed it. I'm with you. I'll say, statistically speaking, it takes about 90 days. Like, what you are doing now is going to show up 90 days from now. So don't delay. Like, if you're listening to this and there's like one action item you could take from this, is identify, 2 people today or tomorrow, one new connection that, and it doesn't necessarily be like just someone you admire that's doing something, interesting that is, you've gotten some benefit out of in your business, that you just want to, you're the sum of the 6 people you surround yourself with. So, expanding your network to someone you want to know, and then look at your existing network. Like I said, past client that you haven't reached out to in a while, referral partner, collaborator, or just, someone a connection that's already in your network, just to reach out and get in touch with. That's what you are doing today is going to show up 90 days from now. So every day you delay it just pushes that next client out, about 90 days further.
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, we talk a lot about on this podcast about how to not be a salesy weirdo. And I think sometimes people think, if I'm reaching out to someone new, or I'm reaching out to somebody I haven't had a conversation with in a while, I'm going to come across as a salesy weirdo. And I think the biggest distinguisher of that is, like, what is your intention in reaching out to them, right? Because if I've never met you before, or I just like met you at this one networking event and I'm like, hey, Tam, great to see you at this networking event. I would love to do a 30-minute, I don't know what I do, I'll just make something up. I would love to offer you a 30-minute website audit and give you my thoughts on your website, right? I just want to do this, just to connect with you and just to be nice, and it'd be really great, right? Like, okay, salesy weirdo, because unless you were born yesterday, we know you're not just doing a website audit out of the goodness of your heart, right? Like, thank you. And also no. And if you're reaching out to somebody like a former client or something like that, you're not reaching out to them to say like, hey, you haven't given me any money in the last 6 months. Are you interested in giving me some money now?
Right. I call that both of those. That's the pitch slap, which I'm on a mission to end that. That's exactly what you don't want to do.
Yes. So how do we want to start those conversations?
It takes 30 seconds. With their tools and resources that we have at our disposal today to, you can look at someone's social feed, Google search to see if they have any news, press announcements. People just want to feel seen and supported and know that they matter and they're valuable. And it's about, them and not you. And from a genuine way, like you can always extend, recognition to someone, for something they've accomplished in their business. You can always say thank you. You can always offer a valuable resource that can support them in their business and the next move that, may or may not include you. But you're so right. It's the mindset and the intention. And to go at it from a place of genuine, like goes back to that, my whole mantra is sales is an act of service. It's about what you give, not what you get. And when you serve well, the ROI always follows. And I have yet to find that not to be true. Yeah. So from the intention of, it's like, you give a gift, it's not with the expectation you're going to get anything back. So really doing it from that intention of just a genuine intention to support and serve and be of value. And when you do that, it comes back. I have repeated myself, but I have yet to see that not come back on itself. And I'll point out, it may not to get all woo, but, it may not be from that person or individual, but it'll be something out of left field that you didn't even expect. But it's the momentum, that you put out there that it comes back to you in more ways than you can imagine.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to wrap up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Sales and marketing is such a huge topic. We could go on forever, but this is my last question for you. If somebody is listening to this and they're like, this all sounds great, but I hate sales, I'm bad at marketing, but also I'm not a billionaire, so I won't be hiring someone else to do my sales and marketing. Where can they start today? Like, is there a mindset shift? Is there, like you mentioned, reaching out to a couple different people and just starting conversations? What do you recommend for the people who are listening who are feeling like that?
I hear you. I've been you. and depending on the day, I still am you. And I'm just kind of my hot take. I don't believe that there's such a thing as a sales expert. There's a lot of people out there that have lots and lots of practice. And that's all. They're just more practiced than you. And, pick, and also, we're overwhelmed at the messaging that we have to be everywhere and do everything. Yes, all of those things work, but is the thing that you can show up and do consistently. So start small, pick one thing that feels true to you in your business and the client that you're serving, and start there. And I can't say that there's not going to be, like starting anything new. I hate to use, an exercise metaphor, any new, anything new you've taken on, there's always going to be some level of discomfort. And I feel it, any in my own business, I still like I've had career sales, and I still get anxiety before sales conversations. But it's just with practice and repetition, it does get easier. So I'd say just start small and pick one thing and that you can do repeatedly and pour gas on it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So if people are listening, they're loving you, because why wouldn't they? They want to know more about what you do, how you might be able to help them, whatever you got going on. What are some good ways for them to connect with you?
Absolutely. You can find me at LinkedIn, And the Sales and Service podcast is where I'm hanging out most of the time. You can also find me on my website, studio349.com. And I invite, again, talking about daily practices that can make, kind of give you a starting point and give you some, daily practices you can implement in your own business. Go to Studio 349's freebies and download the VIP Power Hour. And that'll give you some practical, daily disciplines that you can start to work in and proactively generate more leads and business opportunities for your business.
Awesome. That's brilliant. Yeah. Okay. I will put the links for all of those in the show notes so people can click on those and connect with you. Thank you so much for being a guest. It was great chatting with you. I knew we were going to love each other and have a million things to talk about, and we did. So
thank you so much for the invitation. Like I told you, I'm a fangirl, and I've gotten so much, out of your, podcasting content, and to be able to be a guest on here, it's a compliment, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad to have you.
Awesome. That's a wrap on this week's episode of Powerful Women Rising. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you love the podcast, make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, write a review, or buy us a coffee. Your support helps more women like you step into their power and grow their businesses in a way that feels real and true to them. Want to keep the party going? Check out the show notes for details on our next virtual speed networking event, or join us in the Powerful Women Rising community. Until next time, remember that building a business your way is the best way.